So drawing is not my strong point, but I'm going to attempt a bird here by doing an oval horizontally and then an oval vertically down here. So I have two ovals. Hope you could see that. And I'm going to kind of connect these ovals. And my eye here. A little higher up here. Okay, and then connect this. And branch going across. That's the basic shape. That's what I did here on this piece of watercolor paper. I just kind of penciled in some few suggestions of branches. There's part of the tree here, and then I'm going to have my just some flowers down here. Maybe some flowers over here in the background, very subtle. And then I will color some in, paint some in the foreground. So we'll see how this goes. I'm going to use my Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolors. They were in my bag. I brought them with me for a class, so that's why they're all real time here, people, real time. I have my paint. I have a variety of brushes here. I have some of these reusable paper towels, and I really love these, so I'm going to link them below for dabbing. Now I do use toilet paper and paper towels if I'm dabbing out clouds, but just for dabbing my brush, I like to use these reusable paper towels. And for this, I think I'm going to use my favorite brushes here. I cannot pronounce the name, I'm sorry. They're from Amazon. I'll link them below. I link them below in just about every video of mine. My older ones held up for a number of years, and they're just, I don't know, I felt like they needed to be replaced. So I just purchased a new set and received them just a few days ago. So here they are. And they're round brushes, size 1, 2, 4, and 6. So I'm going to start off by wetting the background here. I'm going to avoid the bird as best I can. You could use masking fluid if you want to. I'm not going to, but either way, you're good. I think I'll start off in this area. I don't want that bottom portion to dry before I have a chance to get over there. And I think I'm going to do a spring kind of color kind of palette here. So I'm going to go in first with this light pink. You could use a very diluted alizarin crimson. You would just use more water. And I'm just going to dab in. I'm not intentionally trying to paint any flowers or much of anything. I'm just putting little dabs and blops and whatnot kind of around. We're creating a background now, so this will be more of a kind of blurred background effect. So now I'm going to come in with a darker red or an alizarin crimson and just kind of dab that in various places. Splatter a bit. Oops. Again, we're not trying to create flowers. It's just a little trick you need to kind of play on yourself, that we're just dabbing. This is going to be a more of a blurred background. I got a little crazy there around his tail, but that's okay. Take more of that light pink. Sorry for the shakiness. Eventually I'll get a new stand for my phone. This one's a bit unstable. And we're going to let that dry. Now I'm going to go down here. I have my lines here where the tree branches are. So I am going to try to avoid those areas. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in with this pink. Not wet enough for my liking, so I'm going to dab some water in there. I don't want any hard edges, so I'm going to soften those edges. Here's our tree branch, a thick branch right here, and there's a thinner one, so I'm just going to, I mean, it's okay. We can go over the pink with the brown for the tree branch, so we're good. Same thing, come in with some red. A little more up here. I think I want a little bit of purple. Just a little here. And let's wait for that to dry. I feel like I need to go in here a little bit. Now this is going to dry really light, so we'll still be able to go over this area around the bird. Soften some of those edges. Dab in a little bit of water. We want this to be blurred. Now let it dry. Now I'm going to come in with this size 4 brush. Round brush. This is nice and dry, and I'm going to come in with some flowers in the foreground. So I'm going to use this alizarin crimson. And I'm going to put some flowers in here. I'm just dabbing. I'm going to use some more of that light pink. I'm going to drop that in. Add a bit of water. Soften. Just random spots. If you don't have this light pink, it's fine. Just use a very diluted red. I like alizarin crimson, but any red will do. Dip in a little water, get the paint moving. Let's get some of this olive green. If you don't have olive green, ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson to bring in that olivey color, and a little bit of yellow. We want our vines or our greenery here to just kind of go in different directions. Actually, I'm gonna blur that a bit. We're not going for perfect here. We're just offering the suggestion of leaves. I'm using the tip of this brush. And we want them to be somewhat imperfect. Something like that. Just to establish this trunk. And allow those colors to kind of blend just a bit. See how that blends so nicely? I like that look. It's pretty. A little thick here, but that's okay. Trees are imperfect. So I'll thicken it up a little more here. What I like about these brushes is you can use the tips of them as you would a rigger brush. You just have to have a very gentle hand. These are my favorite brushes. I'm telling you, they're relatively inexpensive, but it's a very nice multi-purpose set of brushes. I'm going to drop in a little of that olive green here for the suggestion of some moss on the tree. Not a lot. And I'm not going to play with it too much. I'm just going to let it kind of do its thing. A little on the underside of that branch here. And let it dry. Clean this up a little bit here on the edge. I'm going to add some flowers up top here with this same number 4 round brush. A little smaller up here. Again, when I'm coming in here, I'm not thinking that I'm doing flowers. In my mind, it's kind of a trick I play on myself. I'm just putting in blobs of paint and let's see what happens, right? Kind of like how I live my life. Let's see what happens. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. feel like I'd like another branch coming along the top here. Starting with the belly of the brush here, the thickest part. And then using the tip as I move toward the end. And we will go over this again. I'm just establishing it right now. Let's see. It might be a little too much. I think there's a little too much going on here. Maybe I'll make this a more subtle branch in the background. It just feels like it's a little too busy. There we go. That's better. Now I'm going to start on the bird. I'm going to take some of that cobalt blue. Soften that. Just going to bring that in, get that established. Take a little of that that raw umber for the belly, like that. And let's just get our first layers down. A little more of the cerulean. Get it in there. We want that to kind of blend a bit here. The blue and the raw umber. So that's perfectly fine. I'm going to put in some darker shades in that thin layer of raw umber. We're just going to have a more concentrated raw umber here. Add a little warmth to it, maybe just a little bit of this. This is Indian red in this palette. I'm just doing a touch. I'm adding just a touch of that. Don't want to add too much. And I'm just going to drop in some of that more concentrated shade here and just kind of dab. More of the cerulean. Let's get around here. Underneath the eye, very carefully. It's okay if it blends a little bit, we want that. We're establishing foundation here of this bird. I'm not being super detailed here yet. Spoon the cobalt blue. I'm gonna wait until this layer dries and then I'll come in and add what I need to add. While that's drying, I'm going to take more of that olive green and just put in some suggestions of greenery, leaves. water in here to break up some of those hard edges. Now I'm going to go over the branches with a darker layer of this raw umber, and I'm going to add a bit of Payne's Gray to darken it up. And I'm just going to kind of go over that a bit. Just darken it a bit. Especially underneath here. Bring in a little Payne's Gray for the underside of the branch. And we're going to keep the branches up here light. Before this dries, I'm just going to add some texture with my handy little Trekell tool. Or you could use a card. Come in with my rigger brush just to add some finer branches. The size 0 rigger brush, always linked below because I use it a lot. And I'm just going to add some finer branches here. Do need to load this one up often because it doesn't hold a lot of paint, so. Adding in some finer branches with this size 0. Now I'm going to take that raw umber and I'm just going to. The feet are the hardest part, guys. Seriously. I usually have to go over a number of times. So that should be okay for now. I'm going to come in with another layer with my size 4 round brush here of that cobalt blue. Just kind of flick in a little bit. carefully. I'm sorry if my hair is in the way. I'm at kind of a weird angle here, so I'm trying to get in here. We want that blue and that raw umber to blend. I'm going to dab a little on the chest to get more of that kind of splotchy color, and let this dry. I'm going to establish an eye here. A little bit with this rigger brush here, up and down, just kind of random. Oops. It's okay. I'm going to come in with the size 1, dip it in some of that red. Just add some splatters here now that it's dry. Directions. It's okay if a little bit gets on the bird. It happens. I'm sure the bird would agree with you. A little bit of that sap green. Do the same. I'm lightly tapping here. I don't want too much. I feel like I need to work on this branch here a little bit, bring it up. I can redo the legs a little. I can work on that because this is kind of a focal point to darken it up a bit. I'm going to cover all of that green. I'm using the side of my brush here just to kind of create texture. There. Soften the edges here. Let it dry. Now, don't want it too much. There. Blended that cobalt blue. Oops, sorry. Don't want it too dark, but I do want some contrast. So I'm bringing on just a bit more blue. And I'm using just the tip of the brush here to create these kind of feathery edges. Very tip. Pulling some of that paint out, I'm not adding more in. Very diluted mix of those colors. While that's drying, I'm just gonna, I need to add a few more branches here. Darken them up a bit. I'm going to take this lovely opaque pink here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of detail, some contrast to these flowers if you don't have this pink. Just stick with various shades of reds. So if you're using an alizarin crimson, maybe add in a darker red. Just play around with it. I like this pink. It's certainly not necessary. Just kind of breaks things up a bit. And there you have it. I could keep going on. I could add a bit more detail if I want, but I'm going to keep it fairly simple. It's just a nice little birdie on a branch, nice blooming cherry tree perhaps. A nice beginner friendly. Drawing that bird takes a little bit of practice. I think that is the most challenging aspect of this beginner painting, just practicing that bird first. Other than that, when using color on the bird, start light and just add layer as needed. Add deeper, darker color as needed. I find if you come in with too much color initially, you can easily muddy it up. Start light and add dark. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.